WAC Coach of the Year the last 2 years in a row. Josh Pastner, the ACC Coach of the Year this season. So I think these respective conferences, their coaches and media understand the years that these two teams have had. Fran, both exemplary this season.
Bob, it's not about the players, it's about the coaching. Come
Absolutely,
on.
and I've learned that working with you this year.
Absolutely, you know that.
Has very little to do with the players or the play-by-play man. Usually is all about the coaches.
But these are two teams that will play hard. And for Bakersfield, tough man-to-man defense.
Stevens turns the corner, picks up his dribble, shot clock winding down. Corey Hayward back out to Quentin Stevens. We have three, as you said, of the top 16 statistical defensive teams in college basketball this year in our Final Four, and CSU Bakersfield's right at the top of the list.
Yes, and Georgia Tech is as well. They'll do it a little differently. Multiple defenses, man, zone, matchup. They'll throw the kitchen sink at the Roadrunners tonight.
Here's Dedrick Basil going to work with 5 to shoot. Launches, hit the backboard first, and the rebound to Ben Lammers. We'll probably see that shot clock go pretty deep on a lot of possessions for both teams.
I really expect a low-scoring affair because of the two defenses.
Lammers left alone, knocks down the game's first shot.
And the one thing about Georgia Tech offensively, great ball movement, great cutting all season long for a team that was not expected by many to win an ACC game.
And they ended up winning 8, which gets Josh Pastner recognized as the ACC Coach of the Year. Basil got caught in midair but found a cutter. Lammers is able to reject Matt Smith, who now recovers, but throws it into the backcourt. So a sloppy start for Bakersfield, but Ben Lammers, he was impactful in their win that we called last week at Ole Miss, and impactful early again tonight.
Absolutely, one of the great shot blockers in the country. ACC Defensive Player of the Year, who's the highest vote getter. And we saw what he could do at Ole Miss certainly last Tuesday night.
He had 20 points and 8 blocks down in Oxford. Foul called away from the ball, and that will go against Jalen Arrington. Now, there are experimental rules being used, as there have been in years past, in the NIT. And I think the most notable one, Fran, we've been talking about it during the games we've done, splitting the halves into 2 10-minute segments, and the fouls reset. So the bonus is when you get to your 5th foul, an automatic 2 shots, but then that resets once the clock goes to 9:59.
And it's a simulation, basically, of 4 quarters, which the women's game has gone to, and certainly every other basketball entity in the world, FIBA, NBA, etc., high school, all play in the 4 quarters. This is a way to kind of see how that how the reaction is.
Great drive by Josh Okogie.
And what a player he's been. Not only throughout the season, but outstanding at Ole Miss last Tuesday night. And he has a bright future at Georgia Tech. Here you see the zone now with a 1-3-1.
Good hands of the passing lane by Quentin Stevens.
And remember, Bob, this Roadrunner team has won 3 road games in the NIT, including starting out, going to Cal and obliterating the Bears before Conzo Martin left to head to Missouri.
Shot clock at 5. Brent Rapp, pull it pass across the lane, can't get it past the length of Ben Lammers. Here comes Okogie, goes right at the defense. That might be a walk. It is.
And I think Josh was fortunate that he didn't pick up the charge. He was out of control, but Joe Lindsay said he traveled first. And what's his nickname? Nonstop. His AAU coach gave him the nickname as a young player, nonstop, and that's certainly how he's played for Josh Pastner this season.
Well, been in double figures 20 of the 21 ACC games that Georgia Tech played, including the ACC tournament. A freshman that basically came in under-recruited, unheralded, out of nowhere, and there he is D'ing up Dedrick Basil.
sloppy start for the Roadrunners, and you mentioned the length has bothered them.
That scoop is there. Nice drive by Matt Smith. That's the first points for the Roadrunners after they had turned it over on 3 of their first 5 trips. Okogie is fouled.
Take a look right here. When you have a shot blocker, Bob, you have to attack him and go right at him and let him know you're not going to be fearful. And you see right there, Arrington hard to the basket. And sometimes you got to take the ball right to the shot blocker's chest. You know, this is a team that went on the road at Arizona and scared the daylight out of Sean Miller's team early in the year. They will not be intimidated.
Josh Okogie has been arguably the star of the NIT. 30 games this season in double figures, 14 in a row, and he has been dominant in all 3 Georgia Tech NIT wins.
I think the thing that sticks out for me is just how efficient he is. See that 1-3-1 zone? They'll play a little 2-3.
Raps pass deflected. Tracked down by Sean Briggs. 8 to shoot.
Boy, they have really bothered the Roadrunners.
Arrington sets up Basil, allows the flyby, tries a 3. The long rebound to Hayward. Okogie gives it up. The finish by Heath, plus the foul. Where will Georgia Tech potentially be in next year's NCAA tournament? Too early to ask that question.
Arizona, Florida, and 2 standbys, Kansas and North Carolina. But I think the larger trend as we really dig into it is a shift in power to the south and to the west. You know, this year 9 ACC teams, 7 Big East teams. I think we're going to continue to see more SEC growth as well as that in the Pac-12.
Well, Joey, I got to ask you, I think Kentucky's going to be a #1 seed next year. They don't have a bad loss yet. How do you not have Kentucky on that top line? I just don't get it.
Well, you know, I haven't gotten a text from Cal yet, but we haven't put the whole bracket up, and we won't until next week. And, of course, Fran, as you know, still a lot of decisions to be made by individual players. There are some marquee programs that are still in coaching searches. Georgetown and Dayton come to mind. And, you know, when you look at it, the way we base this is if you're a consensus first-round pick, we assume you're gone until you say otherwise, because there's obviously some cash on the table in that situation. And if you're not, then we assume you're back until we know. So this is a very fluid thing, and we'll just keep updating it as we go all the way through the NBA draft and into the summer.
Arrington and Stevens trade jumpers, and there's a rebound by Okogie. And thinking about, Joey, these 4 teams that we will see tonight and what their future might hold, you think we've got some NCAA tournament teams next season on the Garden floor tonight?
There's no question about it. In fact, until last year, which broke a streak of 15 consecutive seasons in which a team for the NIT Final Four advanced to the NCAAs the following year, and I certainly expect that trend to continue. Georgia Tech was knocking on the door for a while this year in February with all their big wins. So I think they're certainly in that hunt to be a bubble team, maybe a little better. And when you take a look at Game 2 tonight, TCU and Central Florida, 2 programs also on the rise. TCU in particular, to me, with a lot of players back, I think they're a solid NCAA team next year, and that's not just because you guys live in the Big 12.
Joe, let me ask you this. What are you forecasting for 2019? What do you got on your docket? Anything?
I'm just hoping to break 90 when golf season starts.
Rainbow jumper off the mark from Damian Durham. Recovered, though. Nice shot fake and an easy up and in for Sean Briggs.
Uh-oh.
Jackson quickly the other way. Fast break off a made basket for Georgia Tech. And Todrick Jackson on the board.
Yeah, you don't see that very often. Bakersfield giving up the easy basket. And again, right now in the half court, Bob, Bakersfield's got to solve that extended 1-3-1 zone, which means they're bringing those white jerseys way out towards midcourt.
Good hands again by Lammers. Second time he's created a steal.
Josh Heath has been really solid, the South Florida transfer. He has really been a guy that Josh Pastner's relied on to run that offense this year.
Coach's son.
Coach's kid, Stan, his father Stan. Little drive right here, nice dump off, and good head fake by Briggs, the junior college transfer, Bob, who's had a terrific NIT. And got a chance to see those guys beat the Mavericks of Texas Arlington the other night down in Dallas. Sold out UTA Arena.
Missing the layup was Justin Moore. After Falou Endoy went for the fake. Woo! At the other end, swooping to the goal is Damian Durham.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar to Big 12 or Baylor fans. That's a former Baylor Bear transfer. Didn't see much time. And he's found a home in Bakersfield.
There are a lot of transfers that have found a home in Bakersfield.
That's exactly right, or junior college transfers.
Justin Pride went to Columbia State Community College. He grabbed the rebound. Played a couple of years there. Senior, this is his second year now at Bakersfield, and a valuable backup guard. Arrington, short. Stevens is able to clear it.
And Rod Barnes, he's got 11 players on the active roster. 9 are junior college or four-year transfers, Bob. And if you know Rod Barnes, you know that these guys have really bought into the discipline that he instills, and it's evident on the defensive end this season. So the fact that they're transfers doesn't mean they have they're wayward children, if you will. Just wanted a chance to play D1 basketball for a coach that's going to push him.
But also, he's looking for a particular kind of player, even when he's looking for transfers, correct?
No doubt. He told us today he wants guys that will play hard within the team concept.
Moore. That drive a little too strong. Here comes Sean Briggs the other way. Out of bounds. It'll go to Georgia Tech when we come back. Yellow Jackets with an early 5-point.
Of the first NCAA champion, and the champion was the Oregon Ducks. And they have not made a Final Four appearance until 2017. That is a long time ago, 1939. You know who they beat? The Ohio State Buckeyes in Evanston, Illinois at Northwestern.
You were an assistant on that staff. Was that a little later?
Why I know that without a note, don't ask me. It's what I call a font of useless information to most people.
I've enjoyed it all year.
Yeah, exactly.
Lammers, yes.
Oh, Ben Lammer is one of those guys who's really blossomed this year under Josh Pastner and that coaching staff.
Third biggest individual point scoring increase from one year to the next in the ACC, averaging almost 11 more points per game this year than he did last year.
And you think of the most improved players in that league, you got to throw John Collins from Wake Forest in there, and Matt Farrell as well from Notre Dame.
Justin Pride scoops it. Nice touch by Justin Pride with the left hand.
Yeah, this is a team that plays 10 guys and they rotate in and out. Coach Barnes keeps them fresh, and you can see that junkyard dog, bulldog defensive mentality they play with. Evident.
Lammers has his pass deflected out of the double team, but Heath catches up to it. He gets rejected. Motaz Ali got a piece. Basil at the other end, hits the underside of the rim. Cleaned up by Arrington.
This young man's had a terrific career. Did not have a Division I scholarship coming out of East Chicago, Indiana, a place that's produced a lot of good players and really found a home.
Okogie backdoor. Great find. A bullet pass from Todrick Jackson.
Remember we said earlier, this Georgia Tech team, they cut hard and they pass it with precision. Josh Pastner told us last week when we were in Oxford, we felt one way we could be competitive in the ACC is make those teams with the top 50 guys guard us and play defense.
High off the window, a miss. A follow won't go for Matt Smith.
And a lot of what Georgia Tech does is through Ben Lammers at the high post.
Okogie challenged by Smith. And Matt Smith is called for the foul, so Okogie will go to the line. And coming up next, our second NIT semifinal. TCU squares off with UCF for a spot in the championship game on Thursday night. That game streaming live on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN as well. Approximately 9 p.m. Eastern after we're done with semifinal number 1.
And we'll see two coaches who've done terrific jobs. Jamie Dixon back to his alma mater. And then a guy that I think, and many others think, the greatest, most important player in Duke history. Guy that really resurrected Coach K's program, and that's Johnny Dawkins.
A guy that is rewriting the history books as a freshman at Georgia Tech is Josh Okogie, as he is about to tie Mark Price for the 3rd most points ever scored in a single season by a freshman. We jinxed him beautifully there, but I have a feeling he'll probably pass up Mark Price at some point during this game. But how about the names on that list? You've got Kenny Anderson, Stephon Marbury, Mark Price, and Josh Okogie, who no one had heard of before he made a name for himself in the ACC this year.
Well, if he doesn't break the record, I'm totally blaming you.
Thank you.
With the announcer's jinx that you just put on him. You know, there was a time when Bobby Cremins took over.
Throwing it down is Ali off the feed from Basil.
Wow. That young man is from Alexandria, Egypt. We're not talking about Alexandria, Virginia. You know, Bobby Cremins had 8 ACC Rookies of the Year in a 14-year period, starting with Mark Price. Think about that.
Lammers is blocked from behind. The ball caroms out to midcourt. Run down by Moore. Gets it to Lammers. Stevens from the corner. Knocks down a 3.
Man, how good has Quentin Stevens been at the end of the season, and particularly in this his NIT tournament? A senior. You talk about Mr. Georgia Tech, both on and off the court, and what a way to end his career.
Basil left alone. Out of control with the dribble. Tracked down his own muff and knocked down a 3. Okogie, like lightning to the other end, draws the foul.
Well, we've been raving about Ben Lammers all NIT, but right here, he gets jiffed. Martin, of course, Mark Few, who was an assistant coach in 1999 when Dan Monson and the Gonzaga Bulldogs almost beat UConn in Phoenix to go to the Final Four. And 18 years later, Mark Few is going back to Phoenix as a coach of a Final Four team. And these two guys have done a great coaching job this year, Rod Barnes and Josh Pastner.
Okogie knocks down 1 at the line, so now is tied with Mark Price for the 3rd most points ever scored by a freshman in Georgia Tech history. Durham's floater off the glass won't go. Saves it right to Okogie.
Freshman backcourt right now for Josh Pastner. Moore, who started a bunch of games. Young man assigned at Tulane, and when the coaching staff was released, he got to come to Georgia Tech.
Okogie turns the corner, can't finish off the handoff from Lammers.
Brent Rapp, a former walk-on with the ball right now, recruited out of Boulder, Colorado. The Roadrunners. Rod Barnes, when he recruited him, said, pay your way to first year and we'll find a spot for you with a scholarship. Solid player.
Basil on the drive. Old school floater rolls off. Another rebound for Lammers, who had 15 double-doubles this season. Hayward lobs it. Okogie can't finish. Fouled by Durham. 2 shots coming for Okogie. Well, Rod Barnes, the WAC Coach of the Year the last 2 seasons, and he told us, and it really is the central philosophy of the kind of players that he looks for at Bakersfield. Like my father taught me, you can outwork people. It's non-negotiable. if you don't play hard here, you don't come to Bakersfield. It really does sum up the type of player that he looks for, Fran, even in a junior college transfer.
And it's the kind of player he was. Rod Barnes is the only person in SEC history to be the player of the year and the coach of the year. And Bob, he took Ole Miss to 3 NCAA tournaments and a Sweet 16. He is a tough, hard-nosed guy, but it's tough love. And he's got the enormous respect of the coaching community.
Chris?
Yeah, and it's a whole family affair for him. If you're going to come to NYC, why not bring the whole family? He's got a son that plays and then another son who's his basketball ops guy. So, you know, like father, like son. It all stays in the family, right, Fran?
Yeah, there you see Brandon, a former player for his dad, and he's now on the staff. We had dinner with him last night at the NIT dinner, and I said, "You really want to get into coaching?" And he said, "Family business."
I'm already in.
I'm already in, yep. Amazing how that happens, huh? Nice
Backdoor
cut.
Stevens. Again, Lammers at the high post making a good pass. That creates a driving lane that puts Stevens at the line. Another foul on Matt Smith. That's his second.
Well, we mentioned this earlier. The one thing about this offense is Ben Lammers plays a lot at the high post and in the elbows, and he is essentially the point guard on the offense because the ball goes through him, and then on the defensive end, he anchors the defense like a point guard would, or a free safety maybe.
Second team All-ACC and the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, number 44 in white, Ben Lammers. First time a Georgia Tech player has ever been the Defensive Player of the Year in the league.
He also is a mechanical engineering major who at times this year has had to come back from road trips and go right to an exam the next morning.
Largest lead for Tech, up to 8.
If the length has bothered Bakersfield in this extended zone defense.
Justin Pride shuffled his feet. Another turnover. That's the 8th for Bakersfield.
Well, not a surprise because Georgia Tech has really been terrific defensively all year, Bob. Think about this. Their offense in efficiency, 267 in the country. Their defense, 6th. So you talk about a disparity on both ends of the floor. They've won with defense.
Stevens from the corner hits another 3. That's his second triple.
That young man has played in more Georgia Tech basketball games than anybody in their long history.
Keying a 7-0 run to open up a double-digit lead. Arrington, in and out.
Now we mentioned Josh Heath, his dad Stan, the former coach at South Florida. There's another turnover.
Here comes Damian Durham. Plus the foul. Todrick Jackson bumped Durham, so a chance for an old-fashioned three-point play.
This guy knows how to put the ball in the basket. When he's on the court, he takes 40% of the Roadrunner shots, and there's only a couple people in the country that's more prolific, not necessarily in making shots, but in taking shots. But he comes from a little town in East Texas called Oakwood, 600 people. It's so small that the major metropolitan area is Palestine, Texas, which, by the way, is the home of Adrian Peterson. If you want Texas geography, you're in the right place, buddy.
Again, without notes. Incredible. Well, Damian Durham scored over 2,700 points in his high school career. And there's a takeaway by Durham.
Look at that.
He tries a 3.
That's a little bit... Come on, now, you can't do that, Damian.
That was a heat check before even establishing that you're hot. Todrick Jackson, yes. Durham,
He's going to shoot it.
Yes.
He's going to shoot it, Bob. This kid, his talent was so small. He only had 6 guys on the varsity team, and he played 6-man football. He was the quarterback.
Todrick Jackson.
Where's
He
Durham?
got pulled down by Justin Pride.
I'm sorry, Bob.
Here comes Durham.
Hit it to him.
Offensive foul call as Sean Briggs was trying to back down a Kogi. That's his second.
Should have got it to Durham. There. Outstanding player. By the way, the all-time leading scorer at Georgia Tech 2,200 and about 30 points.
And in the second half of our doubleheader, Jamie Dixon is back as a head coach at Madison Square Garden, a building he is very comfortable in.
Hey, Jamie Dixon has more wins in the Garden than Jeff Hornacek does. I hate to say that, but it's true. 26 wins in Madison Square Garden as the coach of the Pitt Panthers. Durham.
Floater. And Okogie the rebound.
I told you, he was prolific. I didn't say he made shots. I just said he took a lot.
And we'll see more. Now it's Heath in the high post, turning and facing. Gives it up to Lammers. Forces it up off the rim. He was challenged by Endoy.
In fact, one of the great players for Johnny Dawkins in this tournament, Jason Randall, I think he's now a member of the New York Knicks. Outstanding guard out of the Quad Cities area in Illinois.
The drive by Justin Pride results in a blocking foul called on Josh Heath. And the women's Final Four is set. South Carolina will take on Stanford, and UConn will face Mississippi State for a spot in the national championship game. Coverage begins Sunday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN. For more, visit NCAA.com, the home for all 90 NCAA championships.
I like this. On that foul, that clock resets to 20 instead of 30, and I think that's part of speeding up the game as well, NIT experimental rule.
Arrington has to put one up with the shot clock winding down. Draws iron, the tap into the front court by Okogie. Finds Heath. Oh, he can't score it. But a foul called, and it looks like that one will go against Georgia Tech. And that's going to be Sylvester Obanda that picks up the foul. That's his first.
Watch this right here, Bob. That shot is short. Watch it just tip out by Okogie. He just flips it out there and gives Josh Heath a chance to score right there. Really heads up play. I was so impressed today talking to Josh Okogie for the 5 minutes we had him. An outstanding young man, excellent student, recruited by Brian Gregory and the previous staff. And when Josh Pastner got the job, they immediately went to him and said, hey, we still want you. And I don't think they could have even imagined that he would be as good as he's been this season.
Went to the same high school as Robert Carter, who had preceded him at Georgia Tech before finishing as a fifth-year transfer to Maryland. And, you know, he said that kind of set the foundation of him thinking about Georgia Tech as a place that he might fit in.
And he's a young freshman. Told us he's still 18 years old. He's going to try out for the under-19 USA World Championship team that John Calipari will coach. And he's perfect because he's already got great ACC major college experience.
Miscommunication between Quentin Stevens and Josh Heath on the outlet. So that's a Georgia Tech turnover as CSU Bakersfield is trying to crawl back into this game here in the first half. 5 turnovers for Georgia Tech.
There you see Josh Okogie, family Nigerians, immigrated to the United States. Everybody in the family, typically, right? Soccer players.
He said he grew up in a house that loved soccer.
Yeah.
But he'd be out in the driveway. They'd be calling him in, telling him to stop shooting in the dark. They didn't understand his passion for basketball. But I think it's worked out.
So far, so good. Good ball movement.
Hazel from the elbow, and is met by Okogie. 4 to shoot for Bakersfield.
That's non-stop. That's the nickname. Take a look. He's everywhere. Offense, defense. I just like that he's an efficient player. He doesn't play with any kind of recklessness.
And Doy sets up Durham in the corner.
Boy, that's Durham's spot. He loves those deep corners. Made almost 100 threes this season.
Todrick Jackson. And Doy blocks his pass out of bounds. And it looks like Josh Pastner will use the timeout you can't take with you to the second half, so we'll step aside for just a moment. Georgia Tech on top by 8. Beaumont before heading down to Oxford in a game we had a chance to watch where it was a sold-out building.
Yeah,
in Old Miss, and they found a way to beat the Rebels.
They led Old Miss from start to finish. And of course, if Old Miss had gotten here, it would have been a reunion with Rod Barnes.
Wild shot from Lammers goes.
That young man from San Antonio, highly recruited by some really good academic schools. He chose Georgia Tech because of the mechanical engineering program.
And he gets the block. Okogie wastes no time, comes up short. And now a chance for Bakersfield to hold for the final shot of the first half. And it looks like Rod Barnes wants to call their timeout.
His fourth win, I said, and many others did, he's going to be the coach of the year, even with 4 wins, because the expectations were so low.
Well, halfway through the ACC season, Georgia Tech scheduled Tusculum. And he said, honestly, the reason I scheduled Tusculum was I was basically led to believe at that point I would need a win. But I wouldn't have had a win for about 2 months.
Yep.
10 seconds to go in the half. Basil tries a 3. He's got it from NBA range. Still time for Georgia Tech to get one off before halftime. Here's Todrick Jackson. Good if it goes, and it does. Todrick Jackson beats the buzzer. And these two
Told me before the game that he thought they were more relaxed. Now that the whole idea of the NCAA tournament was out of their heads, they were just shooting more freely. But he does notice them more hesitant today, and possibility the thought of making the finals could be on their mind.
That is Chris Budden. I'm Bob Wischusen here with Fran Fraschilla. How do you get a team to change their mentality at halftime if that need exists, the way Chris touched upon?
You just tell them you got 20 more minutes. We've had a great season, but let's play our basketball.
Well, they go inside to Matt Smith to start off the second half. He misses a couple at the rim. Fight for the loose ball. Ali wins it. He gets shut down. Smith will try again, and he'll back it out to Basil.
And good effort so far by the Roadrunners to start the second half. Georgia Tech, who mixes their defense, opens up in man-to-man.
Smith will go to the line.
Oh. Pretty good right there. They went on the road. They won at Cal. They won at Colorado State. And they won at Texas Arlington. And by the way, now, they've been down much of this game tonight, but I mentioned they played really well at Arizona. They also played really well at SMU, losing by 6 points to a team that was ranked in the top 25 for much of the season. So this team has played quality competition.
Well, Matt Smith averages double figures, but the player they really need to get involved right now is on the bench. That's Sean Briggs. He's probably been their best offensive weapon at times in the NIT. He only had 2 points in the first half. Takeaway, though, by Arrington. He gets it tapped right back to him.
And when we see Briggs, he's going to struggle because he's not a guy that can score over length. And that's an untimely, unfortunate turnover right there.
Arrington stepped on the sideline. Remember doing a game earlier this year against West Virginia and talking to Bob Huggins at shoot-around. He talked about the proliferation of players in today's game that step out of bounds. He said, I don't think when I played anybody ever stepped out of bounds. Well, is that something you've noticed, that maybe the player's just that much bigger, that much stronger, and the game is extended to the sideline that much more, that the boundary comes into play?
When Bob played in the Stone Age, they didn't have the three-point line.
See, I wasn't telling you that story to tee up for a Bob Huggins cheap shot, just in case he's watching.
They didn't have the three-point line, and what happens is kids want to get to the line, but you got to educate your feet. You got to know where you are on the court. I call it court geography. Bob didn't have to worry about in the old days because his game was 15 feet and in. Although, did he ever tell you he was a really good foul shooter?
He did mention that.
Yes, one of the best foul shooters in West Virginia history. Congratulations to West Virginia on a great season.
Heath, that gets blocked by Matt Smith.
Well, Matt Smith is an Energizer bunny, young man from Jackson, Tennessee. When he stays out of foul trouble, he's really effective, but explosive athlete.
Lammers connects.
Well, we've seen him now in a game and a half, Bob. He's got a really nice soft shooting touch.
He's got 3 rebounds to go along with his 8 points. Brent Rapp throws it away, stolen by Okogie. Okogie bounces one to Stevens. And Quinton Stevens will shoot 2.
Now we mentioned Quinton Stevens, Mr. Georgia Tech. He went to the Marist School in Atlanta, which produced another outstanding Georgia Tech star. Matt Harpring had a long career in the NBA, mostly for the Utah Jazz and Jerry Sloan.
And the first player for either team that's a significant contributor that's now in foul trouble is Jalen Arrington. He has to go to the bench with his 3rd foul, as Rapp will sit down as well. So Justin Pride comes back in, and Damian Durham, the volume shooter for the Roadrunners, back on the floor as well. Largest lead for Tech, up to 12.
You know a guy we haven't mentioned very much since we've done these Georgia Tech games? How about Corey Hayward? Starts, he's had, it's crazy, about 5 turnovers in the last 17 games, and he's an excellent defender. Of course, he starts. Tadrick Jackson comes off the bench to score.
Way off from the corner is Damian Durham.
At some point, volume shooter is not a good moniker, okay? But when you make almost 100 threes, which Damian Durham did, Rod Barnes gonna let him keep firing.
Okogie challenged at the rim by Durham, who takes it away. Durham then dribbled it off his heel, recovered by Basil. Basil will try a triple. Got it. Bakersfield won't go away. Every time Georgia Tech pushes the lead up to double digits, the Roadrunners have an answer.
And they ran a little bit of pressure at him that time. It looks like they're going a little zone as well.
Left alone as Lammers pulled the string, but gets the roll. Justin Pride nearly turned it over. The possession arrow belongs to Georgia Tech after Matt Smith was tied up. Here comes Sean Briggs back in the game as he will replace Motaz Ali. Briggs had 17 against Cal, 15 against Colorado State, and 19 against UT Arlington. Only 2 in the first half tonight.
Yeah, and I think, as I mentioned, you know, those teams tend to play smaller, and the length has bothered him. He's not a big guy.
In and out for 3 for Stevens.
He's one of those undersized power forwards that you see.
Basil heating up.
Yep.
He hits another 3. That's his 4th.
Yeah, and he's hit probably the biggest 3 in Roadrunner history when he knocked down that 3 last year in the WAC tournament to put them in the NCAAs. Had a terrific 2-year career.
Okogie plus the foul. Basil's looking for some help defensively from his teammates as he was alone with Josh Okogie.
Was having a conversation with his thigh, because that's about where I come up. But, you know, when I look at this, I think of teams like Memphis in '05 when John Calipari was getting his start with the Tigers. They were here in the NIT semifinals, and then they were a 1 seed in 2 of the next 3 years. In Wichita State's run under Greg Marshall, they won the NIT here in 2011. 2 years later, they're in the Final Four. A year after that, 35-0. So if you're the right kind of program with the right aged players and a coach who values this experience, who knows where it could lead. 15 years in a row, at least one NIT Final Four team has been in the NCAAs the following season.
So, Joe, you could honestly look me in the eye and tell me that there could be one, maybe more teams here that'll be in your bracket next year?
No question about it.
You and I could look eye to eye on that.
I was going to say, Joe's one of the few guys that can look you in the eye.
There you go.
Well, if I did look Fran in the eye, I'd say he'd have an equally good view of Taco Fall's knee and thigh.
I set you up, Joey.
You really did.
Oh, man.
That was, in golf, they call that a gimme.
I'm hoping someday you guys can use those Disney passes and get on a roller coaster or two. I'm not sure that you quite make it up to that right arm of Donald Duck.
I got 2 words for you, Bob. Jets fan.
Yeah.
There you go.
I've got 2 words back. Not good.
Unfortunately, I'm a Jets fan.
Bob Shoes and Fran Fraschilla, Chris Budden, and Joe Lenardi. Joey Brackets here at Madison Square Garden. 10-point lead for Georgia Tech over the Roadrunners, the first 8 seed that has ever made it to the Garden and the NIT semifinals. And they have been trying to stay in touch and mount a comeback all night long, but it's tough when a guy that averages 1.8 points per game knocks down at 3. That's what Corey Hayward just did.
He is a no-mistake guy. He gets it done on the defensive end. And, of course, the bloodlines are terrific. His dad, Craig Ironhead Hayward, the late Craig Hayward, an outstanding player in the NFL. Brother, I think, is in the league, right, with the Steelers?
His brother Cameron, defensive lineman for the Steelers.
Corey has given Josh Pastner a great lift.
Smart foul by Justin Fry. Let's go to Chris.
Yeah, Josh Pastner during that last timeout really harping his team's intensity. He said, Roadrunners, that's all they have. That's all they go on is energy, and we have to match that. We're not doing it defensively. We're not doing it on the boards. And then he says, this isn't high school basketball. Take some pride. We play in the ACC. That's the kind of intensity that I need to see out there.
I agree, Chris. If they play like they did in the ACC, they could win this tournament right now. They're in control.
Lammers with the putback off the Okogie miss, and it extends to the largest lead, now up to 15 for Georgia Tech.
There's that length we talked about, and that's why Briggs has not been effective tonight. He's not going to muscle through Lammers. I'll tell you, Bobby, you know, it's been a great year for Georgia Tech, but that win on the road at Oxford, that was a eye-opener, I think, even for this team.
Hayward nearly creates a turnover. Arrington recovers and gives it up. Matt Smith to the line. And the foul on Lammers. That's his second. Again, the experimental rules in the NIT this season. So right now, you can see Georgia Tech has committed 3 team fouls. Bakersfield already over the limit. They have committed 5. Or check that 4, about to get to their 5th, which would be over the limit in the first 10 minutes. But when the clock goes from 10 minutes to 9:59, the fouls will reset. We'll start all over again, and you'll shoot the bonus at 5 team fouls again. And I know that's a move that you think is a step in the right direction.
I talked to the officials at halftime, and they like it as well, because the flow of the game is better, because like in the NBA, you start all over, and you're not having a parade to the foul line like we have so much during the college basketball season with the normal rules. I like it, and I think we should eventually go to 4 quarters myself.
If you're going to play 4 quarters as foul rules, why not just play 4 quarters as clock rules?
Well, you'll have to tell the people who put our games on TV, because they need those TV timeouts. And we got to get paid, Bob.
Well, we've always figured that out.
Yeah, we got to get paid.
That's not something I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Okogie. The putback won't go for Quentin Stevens. Tried to throw it down with one hand.
Again, another zone, different looks.
Pride with a floater. Snatched down by Stevens. Heath from the wing.
You notice that the Roadrunners have gotten nothing inside tonight. That zone has kept them perimeter oriented, and they're not making shots like they did in the first 3 games.
Rat can't hit there. And Stevens has the rebound after Arrington missed what looked like an offensive rebound chance.
Yeah, they were not a great outside shooting team, the Roadrunners, much of the year, and then they got red hot in these first 3 NIT games.
Okogie, yes, he hits another from the corner, and the lead's up to 16.
This young man had 38 against Tulane early in the year, and we talked to him today, Bob, about when did you really feel you could be the kind of player you are? He said, my confidence kept growing and growing.
Hayward to Okogie. The finger roll is perfect. Rod Barnes wants a timeout.
Ronnie Baxter. LaSalle Thompson was a terrific player that played for him. I know our producer, Kim Belton, who played at Stanford, knows LaSalle Thompson's story well.
Well, you obviously have a steel trap memory where this is concerned. How about yourself in this building? Give me your top couple of memories of coaching St. John's when you're playing those big home games at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, man, a lot of them. I wasn't there long enough to have a million of them.
Oh, come on.
Unfortunately, and maybe more unfortunately for them. But I think coaching in the Big East tournament, losing an overtime game with Syracuse was a highlight. And then my Manhattan team in 1995, we played a really good St. John's team in the Holiday Festival, sold out, 19,500. They hadn't had a sellout since Chris Mullen and Michael Jordan were here. Great experience for our team. That was a team that later went on and knocked off Oklahoma in the tournament. What I remember about that game and that season is I had 5 losses that year, and 3 of the losses were refereed by one guy.
Not that that's something you'd remember.
I do remember it. Joe Mingle from Boston.
Basil hits an NBA +3.
And Joe did that St. John's game, and I remember well. Well,
Not that he had anything to do with the outcome.
I didn't say that.
Of
he
those
just
3 games.
He was one of the 3 officials.
Just a happy coincidence.
Yeah, just a happy coincidence.
Got it.
Yes.
Hammers fouled on a reach-in by Matt Smith. And this is a special building. I mean, in so many ways. We'll talk more about what it means to these teams to have made it to Madison Square Garden, and also what it means to Dedrick Basil to have.
Bakersfield, they started a fundraiser for him, for money, for shoes, clothes, etc. Now remember, this is before he even stepped on campus. So that's what he says. He knew this was the place for him. So we asked him, hey, did you find a home? He said, yeah, it's in Bakersfield.
Yeah, and that's a great story, Chris. And when he made the shot last year to put the Roadrunners in the NCAA tournament, we asked him today, did people recognize you more on campus? And he said, oh, yeah, we have a small family on our campus. And it's not only his home, but he's a pretty big celebrity, I guess you'd say. But
he was embraced by that family when he went through that exact experience.
Absolutely.
He said he felt like he knew that Bakersfield was really the right place for him, the way that they supported him, as his mom lost everything in that fire.
Yep.
Wrap on the drive. The finger roll rolls off. Offensive rebound. Matt Smith gives it up. Arrington stripped away by Todrick Jackson, but a foul call.
Yeah, this Roadrunner team made their first appearance in the NCAA tournament at the Division I level, Bob. They've been a national power for many years at the D2 level, won 3 national titles under Pat Douglas. I don't know if you remember last year, they took Oklahoma in the first round to the wire, and the Sooners were bailed out by a couple of big Buddy Hield shots. And this guy at the line did a terrific job of keeping Buddy Hield in check in that game.
Arrington was not only first team all-WAC, but also made the all-WAC defensive team. 1,000-point score, and they'll need a bunch more to come from 15 down midway through the second half as the fouls now reset for both teams.
And they're going to try to press a little bit. Georgia Tech handles it.
Kogi can't hit from the corner. Lammers with a back tap and a fresh shot clock.
Another smart play. Couldn't grab it with 2 hands, so he just tapped it out. Boy, Damian Durham is long, isn't he? He can be a bother up top.
Kogi. Lammers with an offensive rebound. Stevens tries a 3. It's tracked down by Sean Briggs. Arrington shovels one. A reverse comes up short for Matt Smith.
Well, and there's that length of the rim we've been talking about all night. That time Matt Smith went other side, couldn't finish. But with Lammers and Stevens particularly, they have been a deterrent to those Roadrunner opportunities inside.
Well, Lammers is closing in on a 120 block season. Second most in the history of Georgia Tech basketball for a single season. Todrick Jackson does work in the post. And the lead back up to 17. Arrington does not get the roll, but the tip follow is there for Briggs.
Rod Barnes expects, they'll lose some seniors, but he expects this team to be very good next year. Got a couple freshmen sitting out.
Moore attacks and scores. Justin Moore's only a freshman. Arrington gets by Okogie, and Okogie commits the foul, riding on Arrington's hip. Well, coming up, hashtag Fantastic5, hashtag NIT. You can go to the ESPN College Basketball Twitter account, vote for your favorite NIT and NCAA tournament top 5 players. The Fantastic 5 is going to be something that could be a little barstool debate.
Let's just say that the, over and back.
Durham hit the midcourt line.
Yeah, let's just say that the NCAA Fantastic 5 is a little bit more well-known than the NIT Fantastic 5, but you got to remember, Bob, it wasn't until 1971 that the NCAA mandated that if you got selected to the NCAA tournament, you had to play in it, because in 1970, Al McGuire and that great Marquette program, they passed on the NCAA. They weren't happy with their region. They were sent to the Midwest region instead of, they thought, the Mideast. And Al McGuire said, I'm coming to New York. I'm going to take my New York kids back to New York City. Next year, the NCAA mandated, nope, you get selected to the NCAA tournament, you have to come.
And obviously, in those days, the whole tournament was played at the Garden.
Exactly.
So you came to the Garden for the entire run. Shot clock at 5. Moore, high off the glass with a soft touch. Justin Moore's got 8, or rather 6, pardon me. Basil splits a double team, and Briggs gets to the rim, and this time draws a Lammers foul.
AAU team for a while, so Josh knows the big fellow well.
And we will see him in the second half of our doubleheader against TCU. And who would have thought that TCU would be the last team in the Big 12 still playing, as Josh Pastner's done a great job this year with Georgia Tech.
He's got here's a great number, Bob. How about this? Only 2 coaches in college basketball in the last 8 years have not had a 3-game losing streak. One of them is Josh Pastner. The other one, John Calipari.
His mentor.
His mentor, that's right.
One of the 2. Certainly mentored under Lute Olson as well. Backdoor cut. Moore will go to the line. Close to a 3-point play.
Well, remember, I mentioned this earlier, and it makes so much sense. Without the offensive firepower this year, Josh Pastner installed a hard-cutting offense, and he said, we wanted to make those more talented teams in the ACC have to guard us and guard those cuts, and that was a good example right there. You see the mentors, pretty good, 2 Hall of Famers. You know, when you coach at Memphis, Bob, there was so much pressure on Josh Pastner to replace John Calipari, which is not easy to do. And when we talked to him in Oxford early in the week, I think you could tell the relief on his face that he's in a program that is not yet built, and that he's having fun building it himself and his coaching staff.
He was told on day one, basically, by the administration, this is a rebuild. There is no pressure on you to win in the first year or two. We know what you're up against. He said, talk about a polar opposite from his days at Memphis, where you were expected to come in and on day one compete to win your league and maybe go to the Final Four.
Every year, yep, it's one of those, you know, the Memphis basketball job is a great job because people care. It's not such a great job because people care. And for a young coach, he weathered the storm pretty well, I think. And
do you think people realize that outside of Memphis, that they understand?
No.
Do you think there are a lot of people in America that would be surprised as Durham hits a corner three to realize from a coaching standpoint how much pressure there is on the basketball coach at Memphis?
Yeah, I don't think no, I don't think the country, the average basketball fan in the country knows that, but because Memphis has had a great tradition through the years, and even in spite of the NBA team that arrived from Vancouver, the Grizzlies, Memphis Tiger basketball has always been a very big deal in that area of the country.
Well, they're still the team. I mean, between the two, you can make an argument, right, that Memphis is really the main attraction, and that the Grizzlies are playing in a college town.
In many ways, I think that you can probably get a healthy argument both ways. But
well, Memphis, of course, hasn't been the John Calipari, Josh Pastner Memphis team the past few years.
Exactly.
Maybe that affects it as well.
Yeah. But you're right. When you take a city like Memphis, let's put it this way. Memphians, how's that? Memphians love their basketball.
Matt Smith commits his fourth foul for Bakersfield, so he has to go to the bench. Fading away and knocking it down is Quentin Stevens. That's a long two.
What a finish to Quentin Stevens' career at Georgia Tech.
Breaks outside to Durham.
Durham's got that Torian Prince kind of frame, you know, long, lanky. Former Kentucky Wildcat.
Moore spins, turns it over.
Nice.
Durham to Basil, challenged at the rim by Okogie, and Okogie is called for the foul. Well, there's been, as there is most seasons, plenty of coaching movement, and we're still waiting to see who's going to be the next head coach at Georgetown. Also a surprise to many, the re-upping of Jim Boeheim at Syracuse after Mike Hopkins' longtime assistant goes out and replaces Lorenzo Romar at Washington.
Yeah, and you know, Georgetown, I think whoever takes that job, quite frankly, you better get John Thompson Jr.'s blessing, because it could not have been easy for the university to let JT3 go, and you can't take that job unless the large father gives you the seal of approval. Well, we know the Brad Underwood hire was terrific. I thought Archie Miller, I listened to him on Dan Donkich's show today. He was so good at talking to Dan about why Indiana was a good job. And the other thing he said, very, very appreciative of the job Tom Crean did. In fact, he said that Tom recruited him when Archie played for his dad, when Tom was an assistant coach at Pittsburgh. That was really interesting. That's one of the great jobs, Indiana. I think Archie Miller is going to do just fine.
I heard Dan Dockich tell a story as well about Mark Few and about how there are certain jobs that maybe on the surface look great, like you talk about maybe a Memphis, you're in a pro sports atmosphere, but you've got the media, the fans breathing down your neck. And, you know, Mark Few was always rumored to be a guy that might leave Gonzaga. And he was on with Dan Dockich, and Dan said, yeah, how come you stay at Gonzaga? Like in Indiana or someplace like that comes calling. He goes, no. So you guys have the message boards. You've got the crazy. You've got the nuts. I'm good. I'm good where I'm at. I don't deal with the crazy here. And, you know, is there a chance that some markets are crazy enough that they chase away some coaches that could be the next guy for their program and maybe an improvement?
Jimmy V always said, don't mess with happy. And Mark Few, if you know him and his family, and he's got enough fly fishing in the off season to keep him busy. He's got plenty of streams.
Right.
You know, he's home every night when he's not out on the road. He's got the perfect fit.
Oh, he's built a kingdom there.
Yes, without a doubt.
And happy for him to finally get to the Final Four because they've knocked on the door long enough.
Yes, they have.
Heath gives it up. Okogie with a shot fake. Gets it back, fades away. And here comes Justin Pride the other way. Pulling up is Durham. Gets his own miss.
As soon as he shot it, he went right after it.
Cruising in for two, Sean Briggs. And a timeout called by Rod Barnes with his team down by 17. With
Al McGuire, a local New York kid by the name of Dean Meminger from Rice High School, no longer in existence, was the most outstanding player of the NIT as Marquette won. They hounded Pete Maravich, beating him 101-79. Marquette went on and won the NIT that year, beating St. John's, a place that Al McGuire played college basketball.
Durham out to Arrington. Bakersfield trying to ignite a comeback as Arrington hits a three.
There's that full court pressure now. Georgia Tech's done a nice job of breaking it. And I think if you're the Roadrunners, you want to go down swinging. This team's played hard all year, have acquitted themselves well in the postseason.
Foul called on Justin Pride. That's the fourth team foul on CSU Bakersfield the last 10 minutes, so they are out of fouls to give. And tonight, after our second NIT semifinal between TCU and UCF, Sports Center at night with Scott Van Pelt. He'll talk all the college hoops. NFL news made today, rules changes being discussed at the owners' meetings. The NBA, the NHL, everything else in the sports world, also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
Hey, by the way, you were in the studio yesterday talking a little NFL.
I was.
Where is my guy Tony Romo going?
Eventually, I think Houston, they just have to, I guess, solve that game of chicken where the Cowboys think they're going to get something for him if they hold on to him, that maybe they will get the Texans to blink and trade for him.
Yep. Love to see Tony get the opportunity with that defense.
Basil throws it away.
You look at the WAC conference where the Roadrunners play in. Paul Weir at New Mexico State took them to the NCAA tournament this year. Utah Valley's pretty good. Grand Canyon's got a great arena, great crowds, coached by Dan Marley, the former Phoenix Sun. Good basketball.
Okogie on the baseline.
That's good basketball.
Durham, that's blocked. Okogie got out and got a piece of the three. And now Justin Moore will milk some clock for Georgia Tech with a 16-point lead. Foul given. So now it will be the automatic double bonus over the limit in the last 10 minutes.
You see that ball movement once again. It starts with Lammers, good quick reversal. And then Josh Okogie, who we have highlighted all night long, the freshman from the Atlanta area, Snellville. We saw him drop 26 at Ole Miss. You know, one thing, I know we talked about this when we were in Oxford, but I really like that Josh Pastner gave former coach Brian Gregory a lot of credit for leaving behind maybe not a ton of players, but a great culture. And of course, they also had a lot to do with signing Josh Okogie, who eventually decided to stay at Tech. I like when coaches do that.
Basil in and out from way outside.
That's what we call coaching etiquette.
And now Durham commits the foul. The women's Final Four is set. South Carolina will take on Stanford. UConn faces Mississippi State. A spot in the national championship game. Up for grabs, the two national semifinals. With our coverage beginning Sunday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN. For more, visit NCAA.com, the home for all 90 NCAA championships. And the longest winning streaks in NCAA Division I basketball history continuing to be built upon by UConn. If they win 113 in a row, they will hang a banner once again at Gampel with another national championship.
An amazing accomplishment. I'll probably tune in a little bit this weekend, but as I told you last year, right here in the New York area at the NIT, I am not watching regular season games where they win by 50. I'm sorry. And I love what they've done, and give them all the credit in the world. They dominate basketball in a way that's never been done before. I don't care, UCLA, Boston Celtics. I just wish the rest of women's college basketball would begin to catch up. And there are some good teams left that can knock them off. There's no doubt. That Mississippi State team, pretty darn good. And of course, Dawn Staley, our new Olympic coach at South Carolina, she's built a great program as well.
A hard foul given by Matt Smith right to the chops of Corey Hayward. The officials may have to go to the monitor and take a look at this one. That could be a flagrant foul.
I'm okay with that.
Is this a spot, though, where a coach has to get his players over on the bench after that moment, say, all right, guys, we have given our best.
Yes.
There's 90 seconds to go in the game. We're not winning. Let's not foul anymore and maybe avoid that type of an altercation as Joe Lindsay comes over to explain the decision at the monitor by the officials to Fran Fraschilla, and it is a flagrant one.
Yep. And I think because Matt Smith's playing his final game as a road runner, maybe a little frustration, as you mentioned. Good officiating crew, Jeff Clark, Joe Lindsay, Eddie Corbett, who had to keep me in my coach's box on many occasions when I was a young coach at Manhattan College.
Successfully or unsuccessfully?
Very successfully.
Yeah,
I was a good boy, Bob.
I bet. You forget, I saw some of those games.
I only had to be talked to 10 times before I listened. Eddie said he's going to referee one more year, but he's been an outstanding college official for a very long time.
Another foul as Pride goes right to the face of Lammers. Well, Josh Pastner lamented his team at halftime, saying we have so few offensive answers. We need to be better in other areas. Well, he's found some offensive answers tonight. He's got 4 players in double figures led by Okogie.
Well, you think about it, these guys have really been terrific in the NIT. And even Todrick Jackson coming off the bench. This is the 12th time in 15 games he's in double figures. And we mentioned Quentin Stevens playing the best basketball of his career. And Rod Barnes is going to hug some of those guys that are not going to play for him anymore. Pride and Basil come out.
Lammers up to 15 points, along with 10 rebounds and 5 blocks. His 16th double-double this season. And he'll get a curtain call. And some of the Ramblin' Wreck fans that have made their way up from Atlanta have a chance to cheer Ben Lammers as he goes to the bench.
And Kellen McCormick in the game, the graduate transfer from Western Michigan and the son of former Michigan star Tim McCormick, who also a terrific ball career in the NBA. There you see Kellen.
And here comes Lammers back in because Sylvester Obanda just committed an unthinkable foul as you give a player a 3-point play opportunity with 1:20 to go, up by 17, and that basically takes you right back to the bench. So Lammers going to get a second curtain call.
He got a rebound out of that substitution as well.
And now Obanda gets to go back in the game.
And that's what we call a freshman from Nigeria. Only played 39 minutes in ACC play, but someone I know they think has got a bright future. And they got a great coaching staff too. Darryl LeBarry and certainly Tavares Hardy, who came from Northwestern, Eric Reveneau. Really, really good coaching staff that Josh has put together. Gonna shoot it.
Instead, the drive is there for Sean Briggs.
Hey, by the way, Damian Durham is only a sophomore. He is going to have a tremendous career in Bakersfield. We've joked about it tonight, how much he likes to put the ball up, but.
And Josh Pastner wants to roll the timeout one more time, and Todrick Jackson goes to the bench.
Well, Georgia Tech gets to stay a couple more days, Bob, and Cal State Bakersfield. Been a great run in the NIT.
Rand Rowland will replace the redshirt senior Corey Hayward. So Georgia Tech will advance to the championship game of the NIT on Thursday night, and they will play either TCU or UCF. Down to the last 5 seconds. Justin Moore dribbles out the clock. And Georgia Tech, they beat 3 top 25 teams.